So you've decided on what language to learn. What do you do next? Now, there are several possibilities. Of course, you can have lessons, you can have weekly lessons, maybe your evening class or with a tutor. But even if you do that, you may still want to do some extra work. And it's nothing worse than reading and rereading your textbook. So what other choices are there? Now, I'm going to give you lots of ideas, some of them with website links, although I haven't put the links in the video, because the one thing I don't want you to do is pause the video and frantically write down links. I will give you the links later on. So all these choices are perfect if you already have lessons and you want to carry on doing some things on your own, or if you're teaching yourself completely on your own, in whichever language you've chosen. For example, there are some smartphone apps that you can use. Some of them come with online activities as well. The most known one, Duolingo. I don't think there are many people left who haven't heard of Duolingo. Duolingo, sometimes I think it's a bit like this English lovely stuff called Marmite. You either hate it or you love it. Duolingo is completely free. You can use it on your phone or on the computer, but you can't choose what you want to do. You need to follow their course. So you start at the beginning and work your way up. If you are already advanced, you can test yourself out, but you then have to carry on where it is. You can't just saying, oh, I want to do things about animals, I go to that topic. It doesn't work like that. Also, Duolingo has got some weird phrases sometimes. I haven't quite worked out yet why. There must be some system to it. But I like using it because the lessons are very short and I always have time to do 5 minutes at least somewhere. Duolingo comes in several languages, not too many yet. So depending on which language you've chosen, there's a good chance you could use Duolingo, and I would certainly recommend you try it out. Although if you really don't like it, then don't bother. Then get rid of it again. But give it a try. Memrise also can be used online, and it's also free, just like Duolingo, and you have an app as well. But with Memrise, you can choose the topics, and there are lots of different things available. Again, it depends on which language you want to learn, because a lot of times people, like teachers, for example, put up their courses. I've seen one, for example, I was teaching some girls German GCSE, and I found that Memrise actually had a vocab course for exactly all the words that they needed. So again, you have a look, find your language, and then see what's there and try it out, see what you like about it or if you don't like it. Mosalingua, it's only on an app similar to Memrise. Again, you've got various topics that you can practice on your phone. Learn, where I've got the dots, you need to put the language in. So for example, Learn German 6,000 words. That is the first app you can download. Or Learn Dutch 6,000 words, or learn whichever other language they have. And they have a second one, Learn 500 phrases rather than words. And there you've got various activities. You can choose the topics and you can choose the activity, so you can learn some new vocab, and you can play a couple of games and things like this as well. So it's a nice, in addition to any other things you may already do, it's a nice way to learn some extra words and later on phrases. Websites with free lessons or games. Lingohat. Lingohat is, as far as I can tell, probably the one with the most languages you can learn. It's a huge amount of languages that they offer. And each language then comes with individual lessons. You can choose which one you want to do. starting off with very easy, going to a bit harder. And the system is always the same. You learn the vocab and then you do some games and activities to reinforce the vocab. All free, well worth having a look at. Digital Dialects is aimed at beginners, and again it does vocab learning and phrases and games, but again you choose what you want to do. If you want to learn the numbers from 1 to 10, you click on this button. If you want to know verbs in the past tense, you click on the next button. In a few languages, so hopefully the one you want to learn is there. Games for Language. Well, it says it's games. They have a variety of languages with games and lessons and listening exercises. So again, another one worth looking at. About.com has got it's a huge website, and they most likely will have something about the language you want to learn as well. I know for German they have grammar lessons, they have information, they have games, and they do the same for French and most likely some other languages as well, so well worth having a look there as well. BBC Languages, I've put that at the end. They've archived it, so there are no updates anymore. But they have got quite a few bits of lessons and games and information about a couple of languages as well. So again, it's worth having a look. Now, websites with free books and magazines. You've started your language learning and it's getting a little bit boring now. You want a little bit more with oomph. There's one, Children's Books Forever. It's actually by a German author who's lived in America for a long time now, and he's decided to put his older children's books, those that were very popular in the 1980s or 70s, not too sure when, they're free online and you can download them as PDFs and you can read them. And he has a few foreign ones as well, so that's worth having a look. Free Kindle books, this is my favourite. If you have a Kindle, or if you've got the Kindle app on your computer or on your phone, you may have bought free Kindle books in your own language. So what about free Kindle books in the other language? Easiest way to do that is, for example, if you wanted to learn German, you go onto amazon.de and find the free Kindle books there. And then you find that Amazon says you can't buy anything here because you're not registered in Germany. But if you go to the URL at the top and take out the DE and add your URL, so in my case it would have been .co.uk, .com, you will then find out if that book is available in your country as well. And then you can order it just like you would any other Kindle. So it's worth having a look what free books are around. It may even be worth having a look at the paid versions. It's a great way of buying foreign books without having to pay for postage. Project Gutenberg is really more for advanced learners, and at the moment, I checked again earlier on, foreign languages, they only have Portuguese, German and French, and a huge amount of English. But those are books that are out of print, or shall I say out of copyright. So there are old books, and often they have old words, old terminology in there, and they are quite hard. I looked at one or two children's books which have been updated in the meantime to make it more easy for children to read nowadays, but the old version are quite hard to read. So for that you needed to be pretty good at the language. If you are listening to this course and you're not actually a native English speaker, there are loads of English books on there as well, and of course for anybody else who wants to have a look. And you can download in various forms, some as audios, some as Kindle versions, and some just as PDFs. Your favorite magazines. I can't give you a link for that because I have no idea what your favorite magazine is. But, for example, if you're an avid reader of Reader's Digest, again, if you go onto the Reader's Digest website and then change the, in my case, .co.uk into .de, if it's around, it will come up. Reader's Digest does exist in German. It's also there in Dutch. And I don't know about any other languages, but it's worth finding out. If you like reading it anyway, you may even find sometimes the same articles in the other language. And that applies to any magazine. If you know a website of your favorite magazine, just find out if it's available in the language you want to learn. Of course, when I say you want to learn, if you're an absolute beginner, it may be still far too hard. But just bookmark it for later on. And sometimes just enjoy looking at it and be really happy that you recognize some words, and then gradually sentences. And then you can have a look for websites where you can get news or even TV channels. As a beginner, you may want to start off with children's programs, and then later on look for adult ones as well. Often there are websites where they have news aimed at children, or the news are slowly spoken, which makes it a little bit easier for you to understand. It will take a little bit of search once you know the language you want to learn, but once you've found those channels, bookmark them, make a nice folder with all those, and then you've got a lot of sites to look at. Music. If you want to do some singing or listen to some easy songs, Mama Lisa is a website with children's songs in a huge amount of different languages. And you'll find a YouTube video on there. If there is one, you get the lyrics and you get the notes, so you can just listen or you can sing with it as much as you like. Spotify. If you're listening to Spotify, you know there is a free version where you have to listen to adverts in between and a paid version. And Spotify also has songs in other languages and playlists. So again, well worth spending some time and seeing if there is anything there in the language you want to learn. Even if you just then listen to it while you're doing the housework or your homework or your tax returns. Radio stations. I found an app for German radio stations, which gives me a huge amount of German radio stations, and there may well be one for other languages as well. Well worth having a look. Lyrics training. Lyrics training is mainly aimed at English songs, but they have got foreign songs as well. And they're still adding to it, so even if the language you're learning isn't there at the moment, it may be worth having a look later on. Lyrics training is not for just listening. You actually need to do some work. And it's quite fun. If you start off at an easy level, well, they call it beginners, but I wouldn't do it if I was a beginner, absolute beginner of a language. You listen to the song and you see the lyrics underneath, and every so often there is a gap. And you have to type in the word, the missing word. The song stops and it will not carry on until you've typed the word in. Great listening practice. Yabla. Yabla has videos, a lot of music, but also other ones. It is a paid site, but there are quite a few that you can try for free. So again, it's well worth having a look what they have and whether you like it before you even think of paying for it. And then there is YouTube, of course. Type in whatever language you want, plus songs, and see what comes up. Or films. Or any films that you know, and then just type the name of the language next to it and see if anything comes up. Children's programs. Make yourself playlists. I've started making playlists for German cartoons in that. Peppa Pig, for example. Now, you can do that with any language, whatever you can find. If you spend some time, well, it's probably going to be an afternoon or a whole day, because if you're anything like me, you get carried away at YouTube, you know what it's like. But make yourself some playlists, and then when you have some time, start listening or watching as well. Apart from YouTube, don't forget any of the other social media challenge sites. Facebook, pages and groups. Just search for whichever language you want to learn, and you're bound to find Facebook pages, either by teachers who are teaching that language, so you probably get a lot of educational information, or by newspapers and companies who post in that language. And the same goes for groups. You're bound to find a group which for people who are learning that language. Duolingo has several groups on there for various languages, so have a look around there. Twitter. Follow people who tweet in that language or teach that language. Again, search for them, start following them. If you're on Twitter, of course. Pinterest. I've made some great boards for my German teaching, but also for my own language learning. Whenever I come across a pin with something useful about the other language, I keep it, and then every so often I go back and have a look at it. If you're on Google+, there are some groups there as well, which may be worth looking into. The same goes for LinkedIn. LinkedIn isn't so much for language learning, but there are a few language learning groups. So again, if you are on LinkedIn already, why not have a look? Instagram started off just as private, is now, of course, so many other things, including people who are posting pictures and mini lessons in a language. So there you are. You can have lots of fun learning your new language apart from just reading a textbook. And just in case your choice is German, check out my online classes or even my blog, because there you can find out about lots more free online resources, but they're only aimed at German learners, so I couldn't mention them in here. But you're bound to find something of interest. Have fun.